There we go. All right, I am actually in the very early stages of my training and preparation to run the Rock and Roll Half Marathon in Mexico City, which will be in mid-December, December 14th. And, an important thing about, running in general, and of course preparing for a race like this, is your shoe, your running shoe that you're using. And I recently just purchased a couple of new shoes, and I've been, especially a lot lately especially on Facebook, running groups and things like that, been seeing a lot of posts where somebody will ask a question about, maybe they're new to running and they're wanting to know what's the best shoe out there to get. And it sort of drives me a little bit crazy because inevitably there'll be lots of replies and everybody giving their opinion. And the fact of the matter is, the best shoe for one person could possibly be the worst shoe for somebody else. So, normally, when I do my these YouTube posts about my hiking and my running and things like that, I refer to myself as Goofy Bill because I don't take myself too seriously, because I am definitely not an expert on hiking, and I'm certainly not an elite runner, and not an expert on running in general. However, I do have a little bit of expertise in the area of shoes. I spent most of my career as an arts administrator and arts educator, and that's where I guess if I have any expertise, that's where it is. But once I started running, and I had started adding up how much I was spending on running, I decided that, you know what, maybe this running store where I've been spending all this money, maybe they need a part-time employee to work on the weekends, and which would allow me to get an employee discount. And so I started working at that place, and I just worked on the weekends and maybe a few evenings here and there when they needed me. But actually, it was more than 15 years. Actually, I think it's a bit more than 15 years that I worked there. And so in that amount of time, I developed a pretty significant level of expertise on the subject of running shoes. So I want to, and the frustrations that I've been experiencing looking at all these replies in Facebook running groups and things like that, I just sort of felt compelled to talk about running shoes a little bit, and talk about the shoes that I just recently bought last weekend. And so let's go ahead and do that. First of all, running shoes, like I said, the best shoe for one person could possibly be the worst shoe for somebody else. So who do you listen to? I'm sure that, we all have friends that are probably runners, and they have their favorite shoe, and they might be telling you, this is the best shoe out there, this is what you got to get. And, it might be the best shoe out there for them, and they might have a lot of luck for it, but it may not be the best shoe for you. So, listen to your friends. They might have some good input about, their experience with a running shoe, but you need to, take that in context of who they are and the type of running that they're doing. And then lots of people, especially if they've had any injuries and they've been going to see a podiatrist, and their podiatrist might be recommending some things, but their podiatrist may or may not be a runner. So their expertise in terms of running shoes, it may be good, but, maybe they don't really know that much about running. And then you go into a running store, and if you go into a good running store and you get one of their best running salespersons in there, there's a good chance that they probably know quite a bit about running, and definitely probably know more about running shoes than any of the other two that I mentioned. And then even when you go into the running shoe nowadays, they have 3D scans they can do of your feet, and the computers will quite possibly recommend some shoes for you. So the question is, who do you listen to? Who should have the final word on what running shoe you should use? And here is in fact, I don't usually give advice. I say a lot of times I'll say, I don't give advice. I just share my perspective. So, but here's my closest thing I'll come to giving advice, because I do have a little bit of expertise here. The best advice that I will give from my perspective is, listen to all of those people. Take it in, put it all together, but the final say as far as who you should listen to, and that's your feet. Put the shoes on, walk around. Hey, get back. Put the shoes on, walk around, listen to your feet, and generally speaking, what's the most comfortable will be the best choice for you. Now, there are different shoes that you might wear for different occasions, so you'll want to take that into consideration too, what you're going to be using the shoe for. Even when you're listening to your feet, there's some other considerations. But the bottom line is, I highly recommend that you just listen to your feet. Take all that other input from your podiatrist, your best friend, and the person at the running store, and then try on some shoes and walk around in them. Don't be in a hurry, and listen to your feet and basically comfort. What's the shoe that feels the most comfortable on your foot is probably going to be your best choice. Now, like I said, there's different categories. You might want a shoe for just for your base miles, something that's a good durable shoe that's going to protect your foot and keep you from injuries during those long, base running miles. And then you might have another shoe for race day, or maybe even something that you can use for some tempo runs and things like that. That's for some speed workouts. So, yeah. Now, with all that in mind, I'm going to tell you what I've done. I last weekend went into actually the running store that I was originally hired in. I flew back up to Dallas, and I just wanted to see some old friends up there, and thought, I might as well go ahead and pick out some shoes. Not that they don't have all of these shoes here in Mexico. I live in San Miguel de Allende, and as far as I know, I haven't found a running store yet that actually carries all these shoes. There's, the most popular shoes, Adidas and Nikes and Pumas are probably the most popular shoes here in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. But there's a lot more shoes out there, and frankly, those are not usually the brands that I gravitate towards. Now, just a few miles away, in an hour or so's drive to Quito or Leon, I'm sure there's plenty of stores out there that would carry any of these brands that I would be interested in. But I flew up to Dallas because I have family up there as well as friends, and just wanted to communicate. Oh, and I ran a race up there, a 5K. So let's go ahead, and I went into the running store, and I was looking. I wanted to get something that would be a good sort of race day shoe for me, something that's going to be more lightweight and a little more responsive of a shoe that just sort of gives me, I like something with a little bit of a sprung toe where I sort of feel a nice roll off of my toe. Some people like that, some people don't. And so that's my preference. And so I was looking for a shoe in that category, and then just sort of a good basic running shoe that I can wear on most days when I'm out running and doing my training. So what I did was I went and I went in there with sort of some shoes that I've worn in the past, like the Saucony Kinvara. It was a good sort of like a shoe that I would wear if I was doing a speed workout or something like that. And so I was sort of hoping that to try on one of those. They didn't actually have that one in stock at the time, but there were a few in that speed workout / race day category that I looked at, and the one that I ultimately sort of tried on first and stayed with because it just felt so good once I first got it was, and Hokas were a shoe that I really kind of stayed away from. Not that they're bad shoes, it's just that I don't necessarily like all the extra cushioning. I like to feel the road between underneath my feet a little bit better without all the mushiness. But that's why I like the Kinvara and some other shoes. But I tried these on, and first of all, they're very lightweight. But as you can see, it's obviously well cushioned, and also they have a little bit more of a drop. I'm not sure what the drop is on this. It might be 8 millimeters or something like that. And I generally like something like a 4 or 5 millimeter drop in a shoe, which the Saucony has the lower drop shoe. But I tried these on, and first of all, they were extremely comfortable, but that they had that nice little roll, that responsiveness off the toe that I really, really like. And actually, I tried these on, and I decided the other things that I was thinking about possibly trying, I just couldn't imagine that they would have felt as good as this, because this felt just almost perfect. And so I ended up going with these. It's the Hoka Mach 6. And that's what I got for like my race day shoe. And if I decide to do a speed workout, maybe that would be the shoe to go with. So now, and probably the most important shoe, the shoe that I'm going to wear the most, I just wanted something to get some good base miles out of. And there's lots of good shoes in that category. I ended up going with the Brooks Ghost. And they felt, compared to the Mach 6, they felt a little sluggish, but it's a good basic shoe. And here again, the drop, I think on these might be 10 millimeter. I'm not really sure what the drops are on these. So that's a little bit more than I would like. But here again, my other choices that I had, and I did try on, actually I tried on a Saucony. What was the Saucony I tried on? I can't remember which one it was, but I tried on a Saucony, and it was a really cool looking shoe. I liked the color combination, but that's another thing. When I worked in the range, so one of the things that would be the most frustrating to me, I would spend a long time with somebody, really, putting their foot in the scanner and seeing what the computer had to say, and then looking at them walk and giving them my feedback and bringing out the shoes that I think would be best for them. And after maybe spending a considerable amount of time with them, I would say, I really think, and they would say, yeah, I think this shoe feels the best. And we would come down to what we both determined probably was the best shoe for them. And then they would say, but I really wanted it in this color, and then go with a completely different shoe. My advice to you, Ian, here, I'll give you some advice. Don't do that. Nobody cares, and you're not going to care. At mile, if you're preparing for a marathon, I guarantee you, at mile 25, you don't care what color your shoe is. And my advice to you is listen to your feet, not your vanity. But anyway, I went with the Brooks Ghost, and I actually, and this is another frustrating thing about buying a pair of shoes. Even if you have a shoe that you really, really like, and you're going, and they're just worn out, and you're going to buy another one, don't assume that the next year's version is going to feel the same. Try them on and see what happens. And the Brooks Ghost is a really good example of that. The very first year that they came out with the Brooks Ghost, I tried that shoe on, and I felt like, oh my gosh, that shoe was made for my foot. Somebody got a mold of my foot and designed a shoe just for that. That's how good that shoe felt on my foot. And I thought, great, and then the very next year I decided, I need another pair. And I went and the Ghost 2, I tried it on. And in fact, I think I might have even bought it without even thinking that much about it, which would have been even worse. But as it turns out, the Ghost 2 just was completely different. And I don't know what the problem was. The Ghost 1, what I liked about it was that it just really had that really responsive roll off the toe that I just really, really liked. It felt really responsive to me. It almost felt like it was propelling me forward. And I loved that. Almost felt like it gave my toes something to grab onto and, lunge me forward. I just love that feel. But evidently a lot of the other people that they, got feedback from didn't like that. And so they changed it, what I thought was a very dramatic change, and just sort of made it a very unappealing shoe to me. And so I for a long time I stayed away from the Ghost, and then But anyway, when I came back this year and tried it on, I decided it's still not like the Ghost One as far as I'm concerned, but it is sort of a good basic shoe that I think is going to, keep my foot well protected and be a comfortable shoe when I do just 99 to 100% of my just sort of basic running. And so yeah, I'm going to be doing, when I do my future videos about my training and preparation for the Rock and Roll Half Marathon in December, I'll be wearing these, and for the race I'll be wearing these. And now I may do like I did last weekend. When I was up in Dallas, I ran a little 5K, and if I decide, and I'd like to do at least a couple more little races just to sort of get in the racing groove between now and December, and I'll probably wear these shoes if I do those races. So yeah, there's my take on running shoes. And if you're going to put a post in a Facebook group and ask people what the best running shoe is, go ahead and listen to them. If you've got a podiatrist, a doctor, listen to your doctor. And you go into the running store, and hopefully you've got somebody there that's worked there for several years and really knows their stuff. They're probably going to give you some good advice. But the bottom line is, take all that stuff into consideration, but try the shoes on and listen to your feet. Your feet should really have the final say in whether or not that shoe is right for you. So there's my take on running shoes. And so in the meantime, happy trails, and I'll see you out there on the trails and maybe on the next race course. Adios.